No problem whatsoever. If you're Greg Jennings and you're leaving the Green Bay Packers to go to their bitter rivals, the Minnesota Vikings, who better to get advice from than somebody who went through the same process a couple of years ago? I would have been talking to Brett Favre. I would have been talking to Darren Sharper, who did the same thing. I would have been talking to anybody who was in a similar situation to find out what I'm going to go through from a fan standpoint of how they're going to think about me and what I'm facing when I get to Minnesota. Brett Favre was just there in Minnesota. I know it's a new regime, but he knows how the organization is run. He knows what's in store for him. And if you're Greg Jennings, you also got to think about this. You know what? How much respect did the Vikings actually show me? I mean, the Green Bay Packers actually showed me when I was here. If they really wanted to keep me, I know they made an offer for me. How come they didn't give me a contract extension before I was on the free agent market? Why did you allow me to be out there and allow me to go to a team like the Minnesota Vikings? Teams, organizations, companies, sometimes you got to realize it's not always about the money. It's always about the respect sometimes. And if you don't feel wanted where you are, if somebody else wants to give you the opportunity and make you feel wanted and embraces you, you got to go. And Greg Jennings had to go.
All right, well, maybe we see more athletes admit that they signed for respect and for less money, then I'll believe that line of just stuff you're throwing at us. Because that is.
Oh, the money is an issue. Don't get me wrong.
Well, because it's the same thing.
Yeah,
respect and money is the same thing.
Yeah.
No one says, hey, I was respected more here, that's why I signed for less. Nobody does that. So Jennings got more money from the Vikings. Don't have a problem with that whatsoever. The Packers told Jennings, we're not as interested in signing you before you become a free agent. Let's see what the market is. You've been hurt, and guess what? We have the best quarterback in the league in Aaron Rodgers, and we can just pencil guys in there, and we're going to get numbers. We're not worried about our offense. I don't have a problem with any of that. I don't even have a problem with Favre if he's just letting Jennings know, hey, this is the deal. But there's a part of me that always thinks with Favre that he's going to try to find a way to stick it to the Packers as much as he possibly can.
Right.
Now, I don't know how much the Packers really wanted Jennings back, but you just feel like, at least I do, that Favre, there's a part of him saying, do it. Yeah. Go, do it.
Of course.
And if he feels like he helped the Packers lose somehow, then he's going to feel happy about it for the day, because this is a guy that still, despite history, the accurate history, that he basically retired 5 different times, and the Packers just threw their hands up in the air and said, hey, we got to move on, pal. We're moving on. The quote being, we needed our franchise back.
Right.
And Favre somehow perceives that as a diss to him because the organization was just tired of his act, that this is somebody I could see today helping the Vikings get anything over on the Packers.
But absolutely. There is a little bit of spite that's involved when it comes to Brett Favre, but we know that. What he went through, he looks at Greg Jennings, he's like, you know what? When he gets off the plane, I'm going to be on the phone with Musgrave. And as soon as he gets up, give him the phone. I want to talk to him. I want to tell him exactly, hey, I know how you feel.
Would Favre have done it if it was the Jets?
Probably not. Probably not. I don't know. Giving you the advice here. But the thing is, you're talking about the respect factor. Money is respect. Opportunity is respect. And if the Green Bay Packers would have respected Greg Jennings, and I understand he was hurt last year, and I understand they're going to be fine without him. They still got Aaron Rodgers, and they still got a plethora of wide receivers. So they're going to move on. But with Greg Jennings going to their rivals, actually helping that team within that division, a playoff team, to help them alleviate the fact that they lost Percy Harvin in free agency, going to help Christian Ponder try and become a better quarterback, helping Adrian Peterson ease his mind knowing that you got a passing game to go along with that strong running game. And it's also going to affect the Green Bay Packers within that division when you're fighting for that division. Let's remember, the Vikings weren't that far away from the Green Bay Packers. I know the Packers won a division, but the Vikings weren't that far off from being just as good as the Green Bay Packers last year. They both went to the playoffs.
Yeah, they did. They did. I got to tell you, though, I don't see them being equal just because of the quarterback situation. We're talking about the best and somebody in Christian Ponder who we still don't know what he's going to be like as a quarterback. And when there's that big of a gap between the two positions, I can't look at the teams as being on equal footing. I just can't.
I think if you look at over the years, of course, the Green Bay Packers, they have had a run with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I mean, this is a team that's going to the playoffs every year when you got a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and you got a receiving core that's still there with the receiving core that he has there. But with the Minnesota Vikings, all you want to do is improve. And if you can add a guy like Greg Jennings, who is still very young.
And they had to. Harvin's out. They got rid of a couple other guys.
To go along with that strong running game, you got a stud at running back in Adrian Peterson that's capable of going over 2,000 yards a year, and you got a Minnesota defense that's rebuilding, that's getting better. You just want to improve your team. Meanwhile, you're weakening your greatest opponent in that division, the Green Bay Packers.
Guys, let me ask you this. How much of Favre's motivation do you think was obviously he wants to help his boy, but sticking it to the Packers a little bit.
That's what it's all about.
It's all,
That's all
you don't have a problem with that because this is different. You don't have a problem with Favre taking it personally and saying, hey, Greg, get on over to Minnesota because, look, I don't like Green Bay either.
No, I don't know if he actually said I don't like Green Bay, but I think he probably said, you know what, I can empathize with you. I was there, and I understand the situation was entirely different because, like you said, Brett Favre did sort of have Green Bay hostage.
Yeah, right.
But you know
Absolutely.
what? He's a Hall of Famer. Brett Favre had the.
So you just check in, you let him retire, and then check in and be like, hey, Brett, if you change your mind, we're going to send Rachel Nichols down there.
Pretty much that's what it is. Did we do it? Did we do it?
Did we do it?
Did the Packers do it?
The Packers did it until they couldn't do it anymore.
And then they finally realized, you know what? We got just as good a quarterback if we groom him and give him the opportunity and Aaron Rodgers. So, Brett, yeah, you're moving on. You're getting old. We're not going to take it anymore. But when you got a guy like Greg Jennings who just completed his 6th year in the league, and he's just coming off an injury, and he's still a stud out there, and he's still one of the top wide receivers out there, why not? Why not? Why not?
Because he's not even playing anymore. He's not even – Favre isn't playing anymore. This is the part that I understand. But why do you think it's – you don't have a problem with the money. I don't have a problem with that either.
Right.
I mean, this is the business. And to be honest with you, the players don't care about the fan reaction nearly as much as the fans think that they would. Jennings is going, look, whatever. I'm out of here. I'm going to go make more money with Minnesota. But I'm telling you, and I think you agree with me, that it's about Favre feeling like he's getting one over on the Packers one more time.
Pretty much. But you know what? What is a little bit surprising in this whole situation is we thought we've heard overtures and we've heard some conversation that Favre and the Packers were mending their relationship.
Yeah, I guess he and Rodgers did a skit recently.
Yeah. But you know what? There's still going to be a little bit of animosity. If you leave here begrudgingly, you leave ESPN and all of a sudden your boy, Scott Van Pelt, it's, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about going so-and-so. Who's he going to call?
He would call me, but if I told ESPN I was leaving 5 different times and came back each time, and then they finally said, hey, we're going to let you leave this time, I'd be realistic and say, you know what, it was probably time to move on instead of being mad at the place for not wanting me back.